as one would think. First of all, we have to think of it, right? We have to become conscious of bringing that breath down below the diaphragm and paying attention to the relaxation that it offers us. And, build in time in the first stages of practicing that breathing. And so a lot of people end up not doing it because they think it's so simple.
Right.
But it's actually, you have to do it right.
That it reminds me of that saying, KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
And that you have to start, everything should start at the very basics.
Yes.
And that is a good way. So from breathing, you could go, once you have mastered deep breathing, and I know I have this app on my phone, I digress, that's called Breathe.
Oh,
and
good
every hour it beeps, and I have to focus on breathing.
Oh, that's great.
It is.
That is great.
Because otherwise I'd just keep going on my way, and 3 hours would pass, and I'd realize I've been breathing so shallowly that whole time.
Well, stress causes us to breathe from the upper part of our chest.
Right.
And so we're not getting enough oxygen. It boils down to oxygen and life force, energy. Those two things, they're not coming in if we're not breathing deeper. And if you watch a baby, they're breathing and their little bellies are moving.
That's right.
They do. Their little bellies
so they
are
know
moving.
how.
They know. But as we grow and move into society, we start feeling stress, so we start tightening our muscles. And as we tighten, we're not moving that part of our body. And so it's almost right around the shoulder area that we breathe. And we don't have enough energy then to do what we set out to do. And if you really listen to what people talk about, what do they say the most? I'm tired.
Yes.
Right? I'm tired. And it's due to a lot of these things, and one of them is not breathing properly, because that means you're not getting enough energy. The brain takes 40% of the energy that we bring in.
Wow,
Well,
that's a lot.
If you're not bringing in much, right, the brain is not getting nearly enough energy, and certainly the rest of the body is not getting enough. So it's vital, literally, to survival, the breath of life. And we're so fortunate that it is basic.
Yes, it's so easy,
we really can
right?
learn this. This is not, it's not rocket science.
Right.
And, and it doesn't take huge amounts of time. It takes little amounts of time.
Right. And you can do it anywhere, and you don't have to have anything with you. And
you
it
don't
goes
even
on
look,
and
you don't
on.
even look weird. People don't even know you're doing it. I mean, there's all these, there's a lot of advantages to this, and it doesn't cost money.
That's
I mean,
right.
Breathing.
And the list goes on and on.
And the list goes on and on.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I think what happens to a lot of people, I was involved in the health industry, being at gyms. I've worked at tons of different gyms and stuff. And that's one of the things that I always taught people when they're working out with machines, because when you have something stressful, you tend to hold your breath. That's just how it is. So from there, I would see people realizing how important breathing is, and it would lead them to somewhere else. So, for example, yoga.
Oh, yeah.
For example, meditation.
Yes. Yes, a visualization. Different things that you can add on that you need to be able to do the breathing to do. Like to do yoga. It's much easier if you get the breathing right, because it relaxes the muscles and relaxes whatever else is going on in there, so that you actually can do the postures.
Right.
Or with visualization, which is a scientifically noted skill in terms of healing the body. The first step is to relax, right? Because the mind is not going to focus If you can't relax, it's going to be babbling like, it just babbles.
It
babbles.
does, and it tells you things you don't even want to know right now.
Well, and it tells you them about 20,000 times.
Right.
So it's like just in there babbling away. And if you think, even though the brain is a lot more and certainly different than a computer, but it's got a lot of not such great thoughts floating around in there. And so you really need to, to relax and let that go in order to do a visualization, in order to get that effect and be able to practice that skill, which is a higher level skill. That one takes more practice. Some people are not very visual, but they're, instead they're auditory. They hear sounds, or they smell things, or... those are the main ones.
Which are you?
Or they sense things. They touch, sense.
Which are you?
I'm really visual, but over the years I've developed all of them because that's wealth, right? To be able to perceive from all of our senses and be conscious of it is really a lot of personal wealth. But you start with your dominant. Right. But a lot of times when you say visualization to a person and they're not very visual, they think they can't do it.
Right.
But you know what? Words are a form of visualization.
Yes.
It is.
Because if you don't know what a word is, you can't visualize it, and vice versa, right?
Exactly. And touch it doesn't appear to be visualization, but it triggers, all the other systems, the sense of touch, the sense of well-being, or the sense of not well-being. And so sometimes people need to learn what their primary system is so that they understand that they're still doing it.
Right.
Like if somebody says in a visualization, imagine holding a lemon. You might not see that lemon, but you'll feel it. If you're a sense person. And if you're a smell person, you're going to smell that lemon. So you don't have to have the picture because you have other ways of perceiving whatever that might be.
So when someone, if I were to say to you, you're holding a lemon, what would be the first thing you'd see?
The first thing I would see is a yellow lemon. Yeah,
the first thing for me was the sensation of actually holding it.
Okay.
And then next I added the lemon.
Uh-huh.
Like my hand went right to how I would hold it.
Yeah, so you're a sense person, and which involves a lot of feelings, too, which is usually a good thing, but sometimes that's a hard thing. But, it's like, don't disregard that ability and think you can't do imagery work, because every sense is really an image. And smell is one of the biggies for triggering emotions and past memory.
Huge. That's
huge.
When I think about all the things, like when you and I had our first conversation, when I think about all the things that happened to me that triggered memories and stuff, it was all smell.
Yep.
All smell.
Yeah. And when we become conscious, a lot of times we don't even know that till we start doing something like this. And we realize, wait, I'm not seeing a picture, but I know that lemon's there. I can smell that lemon. I can taste that lemon. Yeah.
So we can work on, even though one might be dominant, we can work on strengthening and building all of them.
Absolutely.
Just like a muscle?
Just like a muscle.
Yeah.
Well, the brain, when it learns, actually does a little protein synthesis on the brain and starts to create a new neural pathway. So there's actually a physical change as we learn. Our brain develops. And so, we can learn lots of things.
Thank you, brain, huh?
Yes, thank you, brain.
It's really miraculous when you sit down and think about that. It is. And even changing habits or changing the way we do things, the same thing happens.
Exactly.
It's
Absolutely.
Amazing.
It's the same thing, a new neural pathway. And, when we get under extreme stress, we tend to go back to the old neural pathway for a while. Because it's deeper and older, right? And so it takes less energy to get there.
Wow, that makes so much sense.
And under stress, we are depleted of energy. So it'll go there. And so then people think that they're failing or they've backslided or they can't do something. But it's just a temporary condition until you pass that stressor and you get rested. And then that newer neural pathway will work just fine.
Oh, you just solved a problem that I've been having. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow. And it makes so much sense.
Doesn't it?
Yes.
It's so masterful. Really, the body, the mind, the spirit are so masterful. The emotional system, so masterful. And even coming to know that is like the biggest gift in the world, because we can start to trust our system.
Mm-hmm.
And to realize that, we're amazing creatures. We're amazing creatures. We are not inadequate.
In any way.
In any way. It's just not true.
Mm-hmm.
That's something we learn culturally. It is not the truth. So
that's very interesting. So how long have you been meditating?
Well, I've been meditating for about 30 years.
So how did you walk us down that path, how you came across meditation?
Well, let's see. I'm sure it was related in some ways. I'm a reader. So I would pick up different things. I was also going to school, and I was also interested in alternative things. I'm a 60s hippie girl, and
me too.
So I was really interested in what was kind of new on the scene. And
you know how
60s,
I got into it?
Yeah, how
the
did you?
Beatles.
The Beatles.
When John Lennon.
Of course, that's right. Somebody was saying that to me the
Transcendental
other day about
meditation.
That he was a meditator.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and transcendental meditation.
So it was around that
big.
same time period.
It was, absolutely. And then I started to discover that there's really a lot of meditation styles. So people can pick different things that can work for them. Some folks just take a long time before they can quiet that brain.
Right.
So they need some other things going on that
like
help
white
them.
Noise or music.
Well, yeah, music, white noise, picking a mantra, a word that they focus on,
right.
so that every time their brains takes off into wherever, you bring it back and you start that word again or sentence. Using an affirmation is a powerful thing. Because you're
to
doing
meditate.
Two things
I never thought of that.
Yeah, you're doing two things at one time. You're doing the meditation because you're still slowing the brain down from all that activity and using a few more words, but words that you want to convince your brain is the truth, right? And one of the ways we do that is by repeated thought. So you repeat that thought over and over again, but it gives you an anchor to come back to when your brain wants to just buzz out.
Right.
And a lot of us do because we're doing so much. And so the list of the 50 things we have to do the rest of the day starts coming up. And
that's one of the reasons why we get so tired, isn't it?
It is. It's exhausting.
And I've read that 20 minutes worth of meditation is like is equivalent to a 2-hour nap. And so now it all makes sense. It's because of the breathing, the mind quiet.
Yep. All that. That you're not expending so much energy to just stay alive. I mean, because you're slowing everything down, so it doesn't need as much. Plus, you get that dialogue out of there. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think most people, you start that dialogue of all the things that need to be done and what didn't go right, and where is my da-da-da.
Tomorrow I have to remember
your muscles automatically start to tense up.
Yes,
So
for sure.
way.
I felt them tensing up just thinking about it.
Right, I know. So there's no way you can relax under that circumstance. So we do need a diversion. But there's some others. I wrote down a list because it's just kind of and it's not even the whole list, but, one kind of meditation is the empty mind meditation. I wouldn't start with that because
that's
it's just,
hard.
It's a tough one, move toward that, but I wouldn't start with that one. And then there's
because then you would think that you can't do it, and you wouldn't keep trying.
And
right?
You give it up in a week.
Right.
I mean, if you get that far.
Right.
The other thing is, don't start with doing it for a long time. You might start with